I think the next thing that I really want to touch on is the role of standardized tests, because I think the most frequent question that we get around standardized tests, and we're not test prep experts. So typically when people come to us, it's because they have a score and they want to understand how that score is going to integrate into their larger MBA plans. But I think one of the most common questions that we get asked is, what is the weightage that's given to my standardized test score? Should I apply to Harvard because I'm now at the 99th percentile of my test score? Or are my chances to apply to a good program going to be reduced because I didn't do that great on the GRE or the GMAT? And you need to remember that there isn't really a linear question answer to this. Do your chances of being admitted to a great program hinge purely on your test scores? I think the short answer is no, they're not. And it is a holistic evaluation. Now, schools will always tell you that there is a holistic evaluation process, and it's important to understand what that means. A holistic evaluation process means that, they will look at indicators for success in the program. Some of those indicators will be based on the kind of work experience you have, whether you've received promotions, the kind of complexity and scale at which you work. And there are some other indicators for academic readiness. So this could be your undergraduate, the details of your undergraduate, the kind of subjects that you studied. Are they a good match for the kind of academic experiences you will have during the MBA program? They would want to understand what your CGPA is. And the test score is one data point the scale of how you are evaluated. Getting a great score is definitely an advantage, but not being a great standardized test taker and having all those other data points in place is also something that should be a positive factor when you're applying to a great business school. I think the reverse question also is, will a great GMAT score really make up for the fact that I just didn't have a great academic experience during my undergrad? And again, the answer is complex. You do need to realize that, well as your standardized test score, it have very different values within
I think Natasha is cutting off there. Natasha, you cut off for 30 seconds. Can you just repeat that?
Yeah. So if you have an undergraduate experience that wasn't the greatest academically, you need to ensure that you're providing a lot of alternative data to tell the school that maybe you work in an area where you're required to make a lot of database decisions, where your analytical skills are tested, and maybe you have a great test score that it may not compensate for your undergraduate degree, but it definitely indicates to the school that you have the chops to perform and to succeed in a really competitive program. Anju, anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to now talk. You've spoken about the GPA to some extent.
Yeah.
So let me add to the GPA part of it. Now, we've spoken about the GRE, the standardized test. If I have a low score or if I have a very high score. But what happens if your GPA is on the lower side? Okay. How can you, strengthen your profile? Now, unfortunately, the thing with the GPA is it's done and dusted with. So you can't change anything about your GPA, unlike the standardized score where you could probably take a couple of attempts and try and improve it. You cannot change your GPA. The GPA stays where it is. So what can you do? One of the things, like Natasha mentioned, try and get a strong standardized test score, your GMAT or GRE score. Now, while they do showcase different things, but end of the day, an MBA program is an academic program. You might go there, for the experiential learning opportunities, for the networking, but it is an academic program, and schools need to see that you have the ability to take the academic rigor of the program. So one of the things that they are going to look at is your GPA and how you've performed specifically in the quant-focused courses, during your undergrad. Now, if that for some reason is on the lower side, of course, one option is that you could explain it if there is an explanation, if there is a logical, credible explanation. Normally, there isn't. Okay. But if there is, you could give an explanation. But the other things that you could do is, as I said, one, get a strong standardized test score. You could demonstrate your strong quant abilities through your work experience, through the work that you've done, in the past 2 or 3 or 4 years. Okay, you could also do additional coursework, for instance, the MBA math. You could also do the extension courses by UCLA, and UC Berkeley. You could do if you have a longer time period available, you could do the HBS core. Of course, all these courses require different levels of commitments in terms of time, effort, and of course the money that it costs. So you need to see what works for you. But this, if you do some of these, one or more of these courses, it shows that you are preparing yourself for the rigor of the program. Okay, you're preparing yourself for the MBA program. The other thing that you could do is, through your essays, you could tell compelling stories. You could highlight your strengths, your professional achievements. And again, we keep repeating this, but yes, alignment with the school. Okay. Strong recommendations with a focus on how you've brought your, quantitative abilities into the workplace will also work in your favor. Okay, so these are the things that you could do if your GPA is on the lower side.
Yeah. And I think it's important to recognize that your undergrad GPA is not something that you can modify. What you can do is control the situation around you today. And that situation is primarily focused on your work experience, your ability to intentionally provide other indicators of academic readiness, and to really focus on your test if that may be the case.